guys, my name is Muhammad Afiq bin Muhammad Tamizi. I'm from DBS2A. My ID number card is MDB23110117. Did you guys know Maranas are critical aspect for Malaysian students seeking to further their education, whether domestically or internationally, as they provide essential financial support, often based on merit, enabling access to quality education, and field of study that may not be available locally. By investing in student education, Maranas contribute to the development of human capital, fostering skill and knowledge that drive economic growth and social progress. Additionally, supporting students to the study abroad enhance their global competitive while also creating a return on investment as they enter the workforce and contribute to the economy. So, using numerical and graphical ways to organize and show secondary data, our purpose is to summarize the data on the number of borrowers who apply for study loan at Majlis Amanah Rakyat and the country the borrowers study in.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Abdul Hakim Aiman from DBS2A. Okay, before we start to go to data representative, I want to show the list of borrower what we do. So this is our list of borrower. So we choose a 35 list of borrower. Like we choose a loan amount and the country. So next we go to the qualitative data. So in qualitative data, we have country Mara borrower study at, and then the number of Mara borrower who apply for study loan. Okay, so country Mara borrower study at, we have Malaysia and the 23 Mara borrower who apply for loan. And then second, we have United Kingdom, only 5 Mara borrowers. And then we have a United States, only 7 Mara borrowers to apply for study loan. Okay, in this accumulated qualitative data about from which country Mara borrowers study at who applied for study loan at Majlis Amanah Rakyat Mara, the highest number of borrower make a loan in this frequency table is Malaysia country area which have 23 borrowers. Meanwhile, the lowest number of borrower is at United Kingdom in this table, where only 5 out of 35 borrowers. Next, there are 7 borrowers study at which is from United States who apply for the study loan. This round up to 35 who apply for study loan, and 3 country Mara borrowers study at which is at Malaysia, United Kingdom and United States. We go to the graphical form. We go to the first one is bar graph. In this bar graph, about country Mara borrowers study at the highest frequency of number of borrowers is at the value 23, which is the Malaysia country. Meanwhile, the lowest frequency of number of borrower is this bar graph is United Kingdom, which is at the value 5. Last one is United States, which is only 7 borrowers out of 35 borrowers. To the second part is pie chart. Okay. In this pie chart, about country Mara borrowers study at which the highest percentage of number of borrower is 66%, which is in Malaysia country. Meanwhile, the lowest percentage of number of borrowers in this pie chart is United Kingdom, which is 14%. Meanwhile, for the United States area, it can be seen that the percentage of number of borrower is 20%. Then we go to the quantitative data. Frequency distribution table of loan amount, the borrowers take the frequencies number of person who borrow it from Mara for their study loan. We have the table, so we can see that. We go to the graphical form. For this, we have histogram. Okay. Based on the histogram regarding how much borrower make a loan from Mara for their study, it shows that the frequency of number of borrowers who make a loan from 1,071 ringgit Malaysia to 181,071 ringgit Malaysia are 6%. And as for 181,072 ringgit Malaysia to 361,072 ringgit Malaysia, there are only 11% who make a loan from Mara for their study. Meanwhile, 10 borrowers make a loan from RM, 261,073 ringgit Malaysia to 541,073 ringgit Malaysia to 110 ringgit Malaysia, and 6 borrower make a loan from 541,074 ringgit Malaysia to 721,074 ringgit Malaysia. Surprisingly, 2 borrowers make a loan from 721,075 ringgit Malaysia to 901,075 ringgit Malaysia for their study loan. Okay, we have a second. We go to the frequency polygon. Based on the frequency polygon above regarding how much do borrowers make a loan from Mara for their study, it shows that on 91,071 ringgit Malaysia of loan amount midpoint, they have 6 frequencies of number of borrowers, but on 271,072 ringgit Malaysia of loan amount midpoint and 451,073 ringgit Malaysia of loan amount midpoint, it shows that both have different frequency of number of borrower, which is 11 and 10. After that, on 631,074 ringgit Malaysia of loan amount midpoint, it portrays 6 frequency of number of borrowers. Moreover, on midpoint loan amount of 811,075 ringgit Malaysia, it reveals there are 2 frequencies of number of borrowers. The last one is OGIF. So based on the OGIF for how much do borrower make a loan from Mara for their study above, it shows that cumulative frequency of 6 borrower on horizontal Y is 181,071 ringgit Malaysia for their study loan. Next, a total number of 17 borrowers make a loan are 361,072 ringgit Malaysia. Meanwhile 27 borrowers make a loan are 541,073 ringgit Malaysia for their study loan. Moreover, an amount of 33 borrowers make a loan are 721,074 ringgit Malaysia. At last, it reveals that 35 borrowers make a loan 901,075 ringgit Malaysia for their study loan. Okay, that's all for me. Thank you very much.
So, how to calculate the mean from the 35 dataset that we already have been chosen? So, to calculate the mean of from the dataset, we can use this formula, which is the total number of Mara borrower, which we label as F, and also X, which is the midpoint of the loan amount that we already choose from the data set. So the formula is the total number of Mara borrowers, F, and the midpoint, which is X, divided by the total number of Mara borrower, which is 35. So after we implying the formula into the calculation, we can get 30,447,542 divided by 35. So the result from the calculation and the amount of the mean is 384,215 and 49 cents. So that's the total of the mean of the data set from the number of Mara borrowers and also the midpoint of the loan amount. So how to calculate the mode? To calculate the mode for a group frequency distribution, we need to identify the class interval with the highest frequency. So here are the class interval and their frequency from the provided data that we can get from the 35 sample data that we already choose for the number of Mara borrowers and also the loan amount. So after we investigate the data set, the class with the highest frequency is 181,072 and 361,072 with a frequency of 11. So this is the modal class. So after we already know the highest frequency from the data set, we can use this formula. So how to amplify the formula into the calculation? So after we already know the highest frequency from the data set, which is 181,072, we plus by the 11 minus 6 from the number of Mara borrowers and divided by 11 minus 6, and also we plus with the 11 plus 10. So after the result that we can get, we can times with the 180,000, since that the gap between the highest boundary and also the lowest boundary. So the result from the calculation that we can get from the mode is 250,000 and 687.38 cents. So that is the result for the mode from the data set. So how to find the median from the data set that we already investigate? So to find the median, the first thing that we have to go through is find the location of median class. So the first step is find the number of Mara borrowers, which is 35. So from the formula, we have to add 1 to the data set, which is 35, plus 1, which is 36. And to find the median, just like I said before, we have to divide by 2, so we can get the 50% above it and 50% below it. So after divided by 2, we can get is 18. So after we already know the median class interval, which is at the 18th position, so we can count the value of median. So to calculate the value of median, we can use this formula. So after implying the formula into the calculation, so we can get the step of the calculation is 361,073, and then plus by 17.5. 17.5 we can get from the 35 divided by 2. So we minus with the 17, which is nearest number to the 17.5, and we divide it by 10. And after we already got the result, so we can times by 180,000, which is the value of the gap between the highest boundary and also the lowest boundary. So after we already calculate from the formula the value of median that we can get from the data for the data set is 379,073. So that is the amount for the median from data set of number of Mara borrowers and also the midpoint. So So we will find the location of the first quartile class, which is we want to find 25% from the overall value from the data set, which is the number of Mara borrowers. So the number of Mara borrowers, as we know, we have 35. So to find the first 25% for the number of Mara borrowers, we can divide it by 4. So after we already divided by 4, we can get 8.75 which is the position for the first quartile class. So for the first quartile class that we can get from the frequency distribution table, which is 181,072 and 361,072. So after we imply the formula into the calculation to find the value of the first quartile, so we can get 181,072 plus by 8.75 minus 6 and divided by 11. So after we already get the summarizing from the calculation, we can times it with 180,000, since there is a gap between highest boundary and lowest boundary. So for the for the value of the first quartile class, which is 226,072. So we go to the calculation for third quartile. Actually, it is same. It is a same formula that we use to find the first quartile class, but this time we after we know the number of Mara borrowers, which is 35, we will times it with 3, since we want to find the location of data set which is valued at 75%. So after implying the formula, which is 35 divided by 4 and times by 3, we can get the position for the third quartile class, which is 26.25 position. So for the third quartile class, which is 541,074 and 721,074. So after we implying this formula to find the third quartile class, we can get 361,073 plus by 26.25 minus by 7 and divided by 10 and times with 180,000. So for the calculation for third quartile, the value that we can get is 527 and 573. So that's all for the first quartile and third quartile. So for the next, we want to calculate the Pearson measure of squareness. So when we want to know the value, we can use this formula, which is mean minus by mode and divided by S, which is the standard deviation. So after we implying the number and method into the formula, so the result from the calculation, which is 0.83. So this data, so after we get this formula, after we get this value, we can make a interpretation that this data is positively skewed, because the value that we get is less than 0. So this data is positively skewed. So for the next, we want to calculate the standard deviation for the data set, which is the number of Mara borrowers and also the loan amount. So to calculate the standard deviation, we can use this formula. So after we implying the number and method to the formula, the total standard deviation is 202,209.62 cents. So that's how we got a standard deviation using this formula. So for the last one, which is the coefficient of the variation. So from the findings, we compare the consistency of our data set with other coefficient of variation from the other group in our classes, which is from the Nadia, Atika and Fatiha group. So group 1, which is our data set value, Meanwhile, for the second group 2 are from Nadia groups. So after we compare between these two data set, the coefficient of variation used to compare the variability between two or more series with different value of mean. So the data from group 2 has a greater variability, which is they get 7 and 84% than the data from the group 1, which is ours. So that's all for the comparison for the coefficient of the variation.
In conclusion, the dataset comprises learned amount and their corresponding countries revealing several insights. It includes learned from Malaysia, the United Kingdom and United States. The learned amount varies significantly, ranging from RM1072.00 to RM891763.23. Most learned are from Malaysia, with amount between RM2482.00 and RM594 at 50.00. The United States has learned ranging from RM1072.00 to RM891763.23, while the United Kingdom's loans range from RM9700.70 to RM461 to 55.80. The highest loan amount in the dataset is RM891763.23 from the United States. So, several high values loans, particularly from the United States and United Kingdom, exceed RM400. Malaysia has the highest number of loans in the dataset. Overall, the dataset shows a diverse range of loan amount across these three countries, with Malaysia having the most entries and notable high-value loans from all three countries. This data can be further analyzed to understand patterns in loan distribution, high-value loan characteristics, and countries. There is 4 types of recommendation that we can use. First and foremost is recognize repayment terms by becoming acquainted with repayment plans, including the start and end date of your payment, the length of your loan, and frequency of your payment. Interest and fees come in second. So you have to understand your loan interest rate as well as any additional cost of penalties associated with making late payment. So the second is investigate the loan repayment assistance program that are available. For example, seek for institutional or government program that provide income driver repayment, schedule, postponement, or forgiveness of loan. The second is grants and scholarship, which investigate if you may apply for any bursaries, grants, and scholarship to lower the amount you have to borrow. Third is written communication with loan provider. So you have to ensure that you receive critical notice and changes. Make sure your loan provider has your most recent contact information. It is possible to get early communication about issues. Get in touch with your loan provider. Right way to talk about any potential reminders or change to your repayment schedule if you think you might have trouble completing your installment. So, the last one is consult a financial counselor or financial guidance. You have to consider having a conversation with a financial counselor who can assist you with budgeting, understanding your debt, and making repayment plan. Educational material also can improve your financial literacy. Make sure of the materials offered by your lender or educational institution.